Now, in the commotion of the protests, many residents living on the outskirts of the Federal Capital Territory have been left stranded due to heightened security presence around the Kugbo Nyanya axis following the ongoing Free Nnamdi Kanu Now protest. The situation has led to severe traffic congestion, with only a few motorists available to convey commuters to their workplaces. Some residents who spoke to News Central expressed frustration, saying authorities failed to provide adequate information to help them prepare for the hardship caused by the gridlock.
It's very bad, especially with the masses. I've been trekking from Maraba Junction, look at me, to Kugbo. I'm here, and this look at how I'm sweating. We the masses, we are the ones facing it. Please, the government should at least consider us before doing some certain kind of decision. Please, we are begging. We trek from Nyanya Park down to this Kugbo. In fact, people are still lying down there in the car to enter. Seriously, we are suffering, and we are suffering for something that we don't know. I don't even know what the protest is about. But seriously, we have suffered. And I'm pleading with the government, please, they should do something about it.
But this very current experience is actually terrible, because deep down right now, I'm not finding it easy. Imagine somebody trekking all the way from Maraba down to the very houses, and there's no any chance of even getting a vehicle. So we have to just keep trekking to maybe, hopefully, barracks before security.
Now, News Central Sagir Ibrahim joins us for more on the update. Sagir, we understand up to this point that protesters have defied the odds and have remained on the streets despite several attempts by the police to disperse them. Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Yes, indeed, Queen. Good afternoon. It's been an interesting 7 hours from around 7 a.m. when these demonstrators came out on the street up until this point. They have severally defied the police, defied security agencies, in spite of the obvious show of force and enforcement of that same force on the demonstrators. They kept on pushing on. They remained on the streets. They said they will accept nothing less than the release of Nnamdi Kanu. And that they did. They persevered. But then, just a short while ago, Omoyele Shore, in company of other organizers of this demonstration, were at the police force headquarters. They were there actually to meet with the force public relations officer to discuss possibly the release of the younger brother of Nnamdi Kanu, as well as Barrister Aloy Ejimako, a counsel to Nnamdi Kanu, who they say was earlier arrested by men of the Nigerian police force. Now, during our conversation with him, Shore had mentioned that they had been at the FCT Police Command initially to seek for the whereabouts of these comrades, but they were redirected to the force headquarters, where unfortunately they were turned back as they were not allowed access into the building. But his message was clear, and which is that the demonstration has yielded the effect, and that the government has gotten the message, and as such, they will be reconvening at a later date to continue with this demonstration until they get what they want. So for them at the moment, I would not say they've called it a wrap, but then we're waiting to see what unfolds in the near future.
Now, Sagir, we see vehicles moving behind you. Does this mean that things and traffic and congestion has eased up a little bit? Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, Queen, it has, as a matter of fact. At this point, I would say that the tension has eased. The city is very much returning back to normalcy. But the central area, the central business district, the Shagari Expressway, that houses key places like the Supreme Court, like the Aso Rock Villa, and of course the National Assembly, with an inclusion of the Federal High Court, currently is barricaded from the police force headquarters around that area, the Shehu Shagari Expressway, down onto the court, the Federal Court of Appeal, Abuja, barricaded by police officers, up onto the Federal Secretariat. You see a crisscross of both police vans and even civil defense vehicles, present at the junctions, different junctions, and in fact crossing the road, preventing movement of traffic, and of course diverting traffic to other areas. For the police, they are very clear that they would not allow these demonstrators to access anywhere within the central business district. But then another interesting thing of note is, in spite of the fact that they went to the fringes of the FCT, to different areas that seem to be like the outskirts of the town, but then these demonstrators were still followed by security agencies, with an inclusion of the Nigerian Civil Defense Staff, the DSS, the immigration, and of course other special forces who we cited during the entire fiasco. They had pelted them with tear gas canisters severally, even after leaving the Maitama axis, moving on to the Utako axis of the Federal Capital Territory. They went to a market around that area that has a lot of southeast individuals there who they were hoping would come out and, you know, continue in solidarity with them to continue the protest. They were still met with tear gas canisters at that moment. They moved from there. They converted their mechanic, another area that is known to have Igbos and of course individuals of Southeast extraction. They were able to mobilize another very large crowd. But then when they approached the ShopRite area around the airport resettlement, they were met with not just heavy canisters, but at some point I could say that I heard the sound of live gunshots at that point, because it was so intense. There were armored personnel carriers. We could see men of not just the Nigerian police force but other personnel armed to the teeth, and they were obviously clearly chasing after protesters who were carrying nothing else aside, you know, their placards. But then this is the much that we've observed during the over 7-8 hours of demonstration across the FCT, and definitely we'll be bringing you more details of it in a comprehensive report. But what we can see at this moment right now is normalcy is much returning, at least to these areas around the Abuja city center, but then not so much to be said about the central business district where the major seat of government and offices of government is located. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you. Thank you, Sagir. Now, joining us, we've got our correspondent in Abuja, Aishat Salihu. Aisha, can you tell us a bit more about what's going on there, some of your experiences? I know we saw in our previous conversation with the police, we saw some of our correspondents being brutally treated in an unwell manner and fashion, but they then came and said they had no collection of this whatsoever. Can you give us a bit of a report on what you experienced and your cameraman as well?
Well, good afternoon. Well, right here, I'm standing on the same spot where about an hour or two ago, the operator and also the driver, they were right on the spot, harassed by officers of civil defense. We were just standing here trying to get people to speak with, residents of Abuja about the situation this morning, about the Free Nnamdi Kanu protest. And, unbeknownst to us, one of the officers, or about 2 or 3 of the officers, walked down to the bus and they were asking what we were doing here. And we clearly stated and told them that this is a press vehicle and we're here carrying out our duty as journalists. And they asked to see our ID cards, and we showed them our ID cards, but then they kept on arguing with us. As a matter of fact, they used one of their guns to hit the driver, whom they said they didn't like how he was speaking to them and all of that, because we were just asking, why are they asking us to leave this place? And just shortly after that, they moved over to the camera operator, who was even coming over to ask what was going on, and then they also hit him right in his mouth. That was what happened just about an hour or two ago on this very spot. And later on, they started apologizing. I'm talking about civil defense officers, and even their most senior officials were here. They came on and they started apologizing that they didn't mean any harm. They're not asking us not to do our coverage and all of that. But then we were asking, why do you have to hit us with your weapons? Why do you have to hit us even with your hands? You know that we can't fight you, but then what's the issue? And then it was just a lot earlier.
Oh, Aisha, looking at it there, I know that there have been several reports. Can you, outside of what we have experienced, can you report any other incidences of violence that have taken place?
Well, I have been covering the sidelines of the protest. I've been moving around the areas where the protests are not carrying out, because I know that all my other colleagues are in other areas where the protests are going on. But just like this place, the only thing that has happened where they deployed tear gas canisters earlier on residents who have not even done anything. They're just moving about their normal activity, but then they deployed tear gas canisters on those residents, saying they are not supposed to move within this area, even though some of them are trying to get to their places of work or even trying to go back home, since it looks as if it's more like a public holiday. They know what work is not going on due to the protests happening in the city. And also that particular harassment that we had earlier. And those are the basic two incidents that happened in this particular area that I am at the moment.
Okay, so can we confirm then that there are areas in Abuja that have a sense of normalcy?
Yes, there are areas that have a sense of normalcy, but then there are other areas. Those areas that have what you call a sense of normalcy, it doesn't mean that police operatives are not mounted. There are still roadblocks. They're still right there. Even if you look behind me, you can still see.
Yes.
Even to my right, you can still see the trucks and the vehicles of police operatives, even road safety, civil defense officials. But this normalcy that we're saying is they will still deploy tear gas canisters, trying to make people, especially when they see people gathering in twos or in threes or in fours. They try to say, you're not supposed to gather here, keep it moving, don't stand, don't wait. It's just a lot. It's a pandemonium.
Thank you so much, Aisha. Thank you. Stay safe out there.